Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Volmer. And today is a bit of a how-to video. And basically it's to do with all the buildings that I had propped up against the back scene in my past few videos as I'm getting through the work through the town scene. I had some of these older buildings which I had propped up. There's that one, and there's also another one here. And these were originally all mounted onto card. And basically what I'm wanting to do is to create a bit of depth with these buildings to make them a bit more 3D, a bit like this one from the bus garage, where there's a little bit more depth to it. As you can see, it's not just flat like this, there's a bit of depth. And also this will allow me to sort of add a lighting unit behind these buildings. That's what I'm going to be doing today. If you're interested to see how I convert a flat piece into something a bit more 3D with lights in it, then this is the video for you, and stick around. So the first thing to do is to sort of go through it. Basically I've got two sheets sent to me. I've had these for a little while now, and I've been debating how I'm going to be doing this, and essentially what it is I got these new sheets from anticsonline.co.uk, or .uk I should say, and basically that was found via Google. So somebody had asked me in the past where I did get these, and basically I got them not from this shop. I actually got them direct from Models of Distinction, but when I went to their website, I had problems with them before when I first ordered it, trying to actually pay for it, because it wasn't linked to a PayPal account, and it was a bit, so it wasn't that it was on a secure site, it was just quite awkward to do. So I ended up doing it through anticsonline.uk, because you could pay via your PayPal account. So if you've got a PayPal account, you can do it like that, and it's a lot easier and cheaper in some ways. So I just found that a lot more easier doing it like that than messing about like what I did the first time round when I originally got the original ones. The set that I've got, they're very cheap. So I bought 2 pages worth, and they're only about £3 each. And like I said, it kind of matches with what I've got going on at the moment. That's the whole point of it all. I didn't want to buy plastic kits or resin kits, because it just wouldn't really match the kind of paper feel, the card feel that I've got going on with all the rest of the buildings around. So I wanted to kind of marry it all up. So hence why I've gone through the same thing. Now I've gone through the town scene sheets once again, and I bought 2 because they were so cheap. I thought, well, I'll buy 2, and I'll just pick out what I want. And if I don't want it, then I don't have to use it. So the first sheet is very similar to what I have at the moment. So if I just sort of look at this sheet here, it's a bit kind of, there's the boots there, which is what I've got before. And then there's some other ones, and there's the, let me see if I could just roll this out a bit more. There's the Woolworths that I had going on before. We've got some, I think it's Lipton's there, and then there's another Burton's which I've already got. And so it's essentially the same, but these are just basically brand new versions, and they are also, like I said, they're just tidied up from the old versions. And this is sheet 10 from Townscene, Backgrounds of Distinction it's called. But like I said, I got it from Antics Online. So that's one of them. So I'm not going to be using all of them. I'm just going to sort of see what kind of fits and what I think can work, and then I will see what I would like to use. So that was the first sheet. Then the second sheet that was a possibility that I had going on was, so I just saw a building that I might quite like, was this one, which I might not even use, but I was using this sheet over at Bourdillon Gardens, and this is the other sheet. So you've got all these buildings, and the whole point of it is that I'm going to mount some of these buildings onto card like I did before, but create a module so that it can be 3D based, and I can build in some lighting within those buildings there. So that's the whole plan. So as you can see, like, this is one of the ones that I'd mounted onto card before, but like I said, I want to make it a bit more 3D and just give it a bit more depth. So that's what I want to do. This is from the bus station that I've just done and refurbished as well. So the next thing to do is to pick out some of the buildings that I'd like to use. So here's the first sheet, and I'm probably going to cut out the majority of these. I'm probably going to go for the bigger buildings because I think that will be good. I think probably like that one there, that one and that one, and we see how it goes, because it's going to be a matter of seeing what fits in the space, and then trying to work it out. A lot of this is probably going to be a case of test fitting it first and checking out the dimensions, and then seeing how it looks, and then sort of propping them up and sort of try and create an order that makes sense. But I am quite feeling the Burtons and the Lipton one, and it's actually a hotel here as well, so that's quite good. And then there's the Woolworths. I might, like I said, to update these, I'll probably have to rebrand these at some stage, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. But I quite like these bigger buildings. They seem to, I mean, these have character. And like I said, I won't throw any of this away. I'll still keep the ones that I don't use, I'll still keep it. Now, like I said, this one is sheet 10, and this is from Townscene. So that's the first sheet that I'm looking at. And I'll prop the other one because there's a building on there that I think I would really quite like to use. So as you can see, this is just mounted on strong paper, and then I'm just going to have to cut these out to suit. So this is sheet number 1 from the Townscene range. Now, those of you who remember Bordelon Gardens and what I did at Bordelon Gardens, you'll recognise that I used a lot of these buildings, this building in particular, and that one, and I think these two were also used. But the building I'm really interested in on this particular sheet is this one here, which I think I'll be using. And then, like I said, it all kind of depends. What I've got left will depend on whether I use any of these other ones and how it will fit. But because this is kind of like urban town, then, you know, I want it to have a town with character, like a market town, a traditional market town. But at the same time, these kind of buildings seem a bit more village, kind of out the way kind of buildings. Some of these though can still be used within the town, but I'm thinking these are bigger ones. I think we'll probably use, and I haven't got a huge amount of space, so it's not going to take very many buildings to sort of really kind of build up the scene. You know, it'll cover up the ground quite quickly just with 2 or 3 buildings because they're quite big buildings. Obviously, if I used to use these smaller ones, I'd need more to cover the same space. But to be honest, I don't think they'd really look that right, to be honest. But we'll see. But like I said, whatever doesn't get used, it doesn't get thrown away. It will still get kept, because it might be very well that I can layer it up somewhere along the line to make it look, to give it a bit more depth. So that's kind of possibly something that I could do in the future. So this is kind of, I've now cut out the buildings that I'm feeling I want to use for the town scene. So all I've done so far is just prop them up there just to see what I think, how they're going to look all together. Now obviously they're a bit curled because they've been rolled up, but that's not going to be a problem. But I was just trying to work out whether or not in my mind whether this is actually going to work. So now what I have to do is to join them all up. So that's my next job to do. So I'm going to have one big piece of card, which will be a rectangular piece, which will go all the way across, and that will join up all the buildings all together. So then there won't be all these curls because they'll all be married up. So they'll all be joined together, and then I can start thinking about tabbing it to give it the depth So, I mean, it's quite difficult to explain, but I'll show you as I go along. But I think this is how I'm going to want it. I wanted that building on the far corner of the bank right to be on the corner because of the way the building's finished. It's designed and meant like it's in a corner. So I thought, well, that's where it needs to go. So that needs to be the first building, and that goes in that corner. And then after we work around all the other buildings and see how that works. So anyway, I'm going to cut the next piece of stripping out from a big piece of mount board as per usual, and then we'll stick it on and we'll see how we go from there. I'm going to use this building here to mark out the back of the card because this is the shortest building. So basically I can then run the piece of card from the bottom all the way to the top, knowing that this building is the shortest out of all the buildings. So when this piece of card runs all the way across all the other buildings, the card isn't going to be coming up from the roof. So that's why I'm going to use this building because it's the shortest building. So as you can see, this is our first building. And what I've done is I've now cut out a sheet of card to match it, and it's just been profiled on the end to match the profile of the building. So I can butt and glue the building onto this piece of card along that profile. So I'm going to put it onto the back scene, town scene here, and you'll just see sort of where it's going to fit like that. It's sort of going to fit like that along the board. And then hopefully that whole bit there will be profiled. All the buildings will be stuck to that long piece of card, so they're all nice and flat and lined up against each other, and there won't be any curls in it because there won't be any joins on it. And as you can see, it will come up towards the bus garage there, and I'm just going to profile it so it's the same depth as that bus garage there, and then that way it all looks the same level and it's got a bit of depth to the building. So here is the bus depot. So now I need to take a measurement between those 2 points, and that will give me the depth that I need for the other buildings. So when I sit them back against the wall, they'll all be lined up at the same point. So that's what I'm going to be doing next, and then adding the tabs in the way that I've showed you previous. Now, as you can see, I've put a tab on there. So now what I need to do is just mark off the end, at which point I'm going to put the last tab in. So the tab is at that end. Now, because there's a curve, as you can see, there's a line there. This is where the curve piece starts. So from this point onwards down that way, there's a slight curve in it. So I need to put a tab on the last straight point that there is, which is going to be at this point here. So I'm going to put a tab there. So everything that way will all be straight. And at this end, there'll be a curve in the tab. So there'll be a curve in the board, sorry, I should say. So I'm going to have to build that in. So you'll get what I mean as I show you along. It's a bit difficult to explain, but basically, hopefully I've explained it, that from where this line is of the join of the back seam, this side, there's a slight curve on it, and from this point that way is all straight. So I just need to mark it out with a tab down there. So everything along that way is going to be rigid and straight, and then on this side there's going to be a slight kink and slight curve to mount the buildings on. So as you can see now, what I've done is I've put a tab right there. There it is. You can see it. There's the line. That's the point at which the straight bit ends. And as you can see here, there is now a curve, a slight curve in the back seam. So that will allow just to put those buildings up against it and just blend it in nicely so it fits better. So that's what I've now done. Now what I need to do is start marking out the positioning of all the buildings with all these lines here. So I'm going to be making some more lines as I position the buildings, and then I'll know where to mark the holes for the LEDs for the street lighting. So as you can now see, I've now marked out the buildings. As you see, there's one there, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 buildings, and then the curve sort of starts here. I've also marked out where I'm going to put the LEDs for the street lights. So there's going to be 3. And so now I've marked that out. I'm trying to get as much of this pre-built as I can before I stick the buildings on. And then I've now got a rough idea as to where everything's going to go, and I can work around everything else. So it should all be good. So for this final part of the video, it's all finished. And I've cracked on with it, but it's nothing that I haven't shown you previously. So if I just look at it, show you it from the back, you can see that I've basically reinforced it all, strengthened it, and it's all using sort of cards technique, the tab technique, to make this low relief. So just to strengthen it. And as you can see, I've now fitted all the wiring on the back of it, but I'm not happy with the LEDs. They do work, but I ran out of white ones, so I had some yellow ones, but I've had issues with the yellow ones that I bought. Some of them tended to work and others didn't, and I think it's just that whole batch is just faulty. Anyway, I needed to get some more LEDs for the container terminal in any case, so I've basically bought another set of those, and I'm going to wait for them to come. And then when they come, I will just basically replace these ones that I've got going on here. So as you can see, I've strengthened it, and I've also put the buildings on. So from the front, as you can see, look, this is the wiring. So the wiring goes to this chop block, and then this chop block goes down and plugs in to the connection to light up the building, to the low relief building. So here's what I've now done on the front, because I'm sure that's what you're really interested in. It's basically, this is how the front looks. This is how my little low relief buildings look from the front, which I think looks pretty ace. You've got these strips of card here, 1, 2, 3, which kind of represent lamp posts which go up to the LED. So basically it's all built into it. So I'm not doing what I did before, which is drill holes through the back of the board, because it just looked unsightly. So I wanted this to be a self-contained unit. I will put a back piece on here, a cover on here, to tidy this up, but I'll do that once I've replaced the LEDs with some proper white ones. So on the next video I'll show you the full effect on the town scene, day and night. But for now, this is how it looks like. It's ready to be plugged in, like I said, and like I said, I've married it all up. I've just painted this top black to just blend in the roof, and on the backs here you can see I've painted that in this kind of browny colour to match the chimney stacks. So when the camera you get certain camera angles, I just want to make sure you just don't see card behind it, or if you do, you're going to just see card that's blended in rather than just, So for me, this is now complete, and it's got a bit more of a dimension now to it, and it just sits a bit better on the layout now, and it's all one big unit. So that's how I've made my sort of 3D low relief buildings, and I'll just give you a close up just before we go. That's the bank that sits on the end. Then we've got the Liptons, and then we've got the Woolworths, and then we've got the Burtons, which goes on the curve, as you can see. And what I'll do is, so that's it. And I will leave you with a photograph of it on the layout. So until the next time, it's goodbye from Mildenhall and Volmer. And in fact, there's going to be a number of videos coming up, because I'm going to be off for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So not only am I going to get, I'm planning to go to Folkestone, I'm also planning on heading down to London. Me and Gary are going to be doing a day trip down to London for a very special reason. And so we're going to have fun with that. And also there's some new stuff which turned up on the layout, which I also want to show you. And so there's going to be a number of videos coming up over these next few weeks. But until then, I hope you've liked my town scene, and I hope this has given you an idea that You know, you can make your own town scene using your own types of buildings that you can print off or buy. So these 2D buildings have now got a bit of character to them because they're all nicely lined up. They've got a bit of depth to them, which is exactly what I was looking for and exactly what I was looking to do. And so you don't necessarily need to buy ones that are already made. If you can find images that you like, then at least you've got the basic tools, which hopefully I've showed you, you know, in terms of how to create a sort of more depth to your buildings. So like I said, until the next time, it's goodbye from the Lawn Farmer. Bye bye.